everyone, I'm Charles Bernard, and I paint paperback book covers for novels, science fiction, fantasy, mystery, romance, thrillers, suspense, those kind of genres. And this video is for those of you who find it difficult to understand how to bring various colors into a harmonious relationship. And I'm going to be showing you a couple of ways that can be done. And it involves what is called mother color. Now, if you've never heard of the mother color, you'll be learning exactly what that is in this video. Here you see a rough black and white sketch I did for a publisher for a book cover. And this is just one of several rough concept sketches that I did for the cover. Now, this particular sketch wasn't selected for the finished art. Another one was. But here I'm showing you this because I'm going to be using this rough sketch to point something out to you in terms of how you can harmonize your colors. If you're a beginner, I know you don't know how to harmonize colors. So therefore, what you probably do is you just select colors, those that are typical of the particular subject, such as the sky is going to be blue. And let me just select the color here, and then just quickly sketch in a blue for the sky. And this is the sort of thing that is usually done. You put in what you know a sky is. The sky is blue, and I'm just roughing this in, as you can see. Then down here, let's say there's grass, so you know that there's green grass. So I'll just rough in some green here, like this. And then maybe these figures back here, oh, maybe they're, let's see, a violet color. And I'm going to just rough all of that in like this. And the foreground figures, let's make them more of a red-violet like that. And then the foreground figure, that figure, let's say, is red. And I'm doing this in real time, really quick, as you can see. And the face, and then the hair. Let's keep the hair a dark brown, maybe. Something like that, maybe. And the boots, also dark brown. So I have all these different colors, typical of what a beginner might do. So, in order to harmonize these colors, what you can do is when you paint a picture, you use what is called a mother color. So that means that you select the color, and I'm just going to select this red here. This is going to be the mother color. That means that this color is going to appear in every color that I select for the painting. So if I, let's say, have an orange color, I'm going to put a little bit of that red into the orange like that, and I end up with a color that looks like that. If I have a blue, I'm going to put a little of that red into the blue, mix it in there like this, and I end up with a color that's something like that. If I have green, again, I'll pick up the mother color and put a little of that mother color in there. So I end up with a green that looks like that. So every color contains a little of that red, and that brings these colors in closer relationship to each other. Now there's another way to do this, and you get the same results, and I'm going to show you how that's done. So what you do is you go to the image menu, down to adjustments, and then down to where it says photo filter. Then you see the photo filter dialog box here. You click on color, where it says color right there. Down here where it says density, move the slider over to maybe something like 70%. Then click on the little color square, brings up the color picker. Now, whatever color you select, that becomes the mother color, which means, as I said, that all of the colors will contain a little bit of that mother color. And you can see in my sketch how the colors have changed when I selected that filter color. The filter color becomes the mother color. So I could change that, let's say, to more of a violet. And again, you see how the colors change. And now they appear to go together better, which means that they are harmonizing better than they did before. There's a closer relationship established due to the fact of this color filter being applied over the entire painting, so that all of the colors receive some of that mother color, some of that filter color. You get the same results, like I said, than if you used paint, like I showed you, or Photoshop, in which you select one color and then you add a little bit of that color to all of the other colors. And the photo filter gives you the same effect, or the same result. So let me see what happens when I select blue. Everything is cooled down more. And let me move on to a different blue. You see how the colors change. Green. All of the colors receive a little bit of that green like this. Yellow. Red. More of a red violet. See how beautifully these colors harmonize. So let's say that red violet becomes the mother color. Click OK, and here I can change the density. If I don't want it that strong, just move the little slider down to a lower percentage, and now the colors don't appear as harmonized as they did before. But if I move the density slider over and I increase the percentage, the colors now begin to harmonize even more. So I'm going to keep it around here, around 70, like that. I'll click OK. Then, if I don't want this painting to have such a strong saturation dominance, I can go to the image menu, down to adjustments, and down to hue saturation. And then here where it says saturation, I can move the slider over toward the left, reducing the saturation of the colors, but I still have this harmony of color, even though I've reduced the saturation. And a matter of fact, the harmony becomes even stronger because the colors begin to take on more similar saturation. Now, when you want to add an accent to create greater emphasis, you select the color that isn't a color to which the mother color has been applied, or that filter. So for example, I could select the green here from my magic picker, and that green could become my accent color. So I'm going to place that green over here on the figure. And you see how that green stands out? Because that red violet hasn't been added to the green. So therefore it becomes a discord, a strong accent that helps to draw the eye over here. So every other color will contain the mother color, but that color that you want to use for strong emphasis doesn't contain the mother color. So here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. Can you see how these colors seem to be much more aesthetically pleasing to the eye than these? Here you don't have that harmony. Here you have the harmony. That's why it's so aesthetically pleasing. Those colors seem to all belong together. And here is a quick way for you to harmonize colors when you don't know how to harmonize them without using another color or a color filter. This is the quick, easy way to harmonize your colors. And if you're a beginner, like I said, you're not going to know how to harmonize colors. But by following what I just showed you, you will easily be able to harmonize your colors. So if you're working with Photoshop, you can use the photo filter. If you're working with paint, you select a color like I showed you here, and then you add that color, that paint, to all of the other colors that you're going to be using in your painting. And even if those colors look like they're clashing, once you add the mother color to them and you reduce the saturation, those colors will harmonize. Now, for those of you who don't really have a good understanding of exactly what harmony is, I'm briefly just going to mention how it relates to the colors. And I'm going to add a red over here. And then I'm going to add this red-orange next to it, like that. Here you see harmony. Why is there harmony here? Harmony results in color, as it does with all the other elements of design, when there is a small difference between the two colors. And these two colors are almost the same, but not quite. This is a red-orange, and that, of course, is a red. So there's only a small difference between the two colors, and therefore they are in harmony. But if I do something like this, where I add a blue here, and then next to the blue I add the orange, there is no harmony of hue here. And hue referring to what the color is, the name of the color. Blue and orange, those are the names. So there's no harmony in terms of hue. Here there is harmony in terms of hue. I'm not going to get into this too much. So, as I said, when there's a small difference between two colors, like in this case, there is harmony. When there's a big difference between the colors like this, there is no harmony. Now, there are different degrees of harmony. I can have more harmony or I can have less harmony. So let's say I add more of the red here to this red-orange, like I'm doing now. Now there's even less difference between these two colors, which means they are in even greater harmony with each other. But if I do something like this, in which I add, let's say, more orange, there's still harmony, but the harmony is less now. If I do something like this, in which I add red here, the same red, now there's no harmony whatsoever. What I have now is repetition. I'm repeating that red. But if I want harmony, then there has to be some difference between the two colors. Either a little greater, not much greater, or very little difference between the two colors. So this is a brief lesson on how harmony is achieved through color. If you understand this, then you're in good shape and you shouldn't have much trouble in creating harmony of color. But it may take a while. You may think you know and understand this thoroughly, but maybe not. The only way you're going to find out is if you actually put this principle into your practice work. using all sorts of different colors and see if you get harmony. If you get harmony, then you have a pretty good understanding of what I've explained to you here. But if your painting still looks like the colors are not harmonizing, they don't look like they're going together, then you don't really understand it yet. And you just have to work at it a little more. You have to think. Art also is about thinking, not just about feeling. In this example here, the reason why these two colors are in harmony is because the mother color has been repeated within the orange here. The mother color, of course, is this red. And therefore that red, when it is applied to the orange here, and orange contains red, it automatically contains red. When you select orange and you place it next to a red, you automatically have harmony, because there is that mother color in both colors. The red is the mother color, which appears in the orange. So you see, it is through the mother color that you achieve harmony. And no matter what system you employ in order to get harmony, you're always going to have this mother color that is in those colors, which in turn then brings them together so that they form a closer relationship, and when that happens, you have harmony. So these colors here, for example, they don't harmonize that well, because as you saw, I just put a little bit of that red into these colors, but they still don't look very harmonious. So in order to get more harmony here, and the harmony is very weak here, as I mentioned, more of that mother color needs to be applied, which I'm going to do now, to these colors, bringing them into an even closer relationship with each other. And remember what I said about harmony. Harmony results when those colors are similar looking, when there isn't much difference between the colors. Now you can have different hues and still have harmony. And that results when that different hue, like this blue, has the same saturation as these colors and the same value. And it is those two properties of the blue which it has in common with these other colors that then unites them with those colors and forms a harmony. There's that similarity that I'm talking about. It's that similarity of value and that similarity of saturation instead of a similarity of hue that forms the harmony. Now this might be a little difficult to understand, more explanation is needed, but I can't go into that too much here. So let's say I add even more red to the blue here. That's going to change that blue quite a bit. Now I no longer will have that blue hue that I need. So you can't add too much of the mother color to another color without changing that other color too much. So if you want to keep that different hue, then you have to do what I just said about having other properties of that color similar or the same to the other hues, which will then bring them into harmony. Or you can change that color like I just did here so that more of that mother color is in there, but then you also have a different hue. It's no longer blue. But now when you look at these colors, you can see that they are much closer. That is, there isn't that great of a difference in hue between them. I added just a little bit more of the red. So now I have more harmony here. Remember what I said, there could be more or less harmony. Things can get quite complicated, but I don't want to complicate things too much for you. I just want to keep things more simple, so therefore I'm just talking about the mother color and how that mother color can form harmonious relationships of color. I'm going to return this color right here to the blue and that other color back to a more orange. And I want to show you what I was talking about, how other properties of color, such as value and saturation, can be used to bring a color that is of a different hue, a strong contrasting hue like the blue with the orange, into a harmonious relationship. So I can just briefly mention this, but you'll get some idea of how that can be done and what that looks like. So I'm going to turn this into a black and white, and here is another property of color, which is value. And you can see the blue right here, which is of a lighter value than that value up here, the red. And it's similar to the orange, enough to bring the blue into harmony with the orange. But if I make that blue the same value, that would then strengthen the relationship between the two. And I'm going to do that now. And I'll just bring the little color slider down and darken that blue like this. Then I'll check my values, and now those values are even closer together. But the red is too dark. So I'm going to select the red and then add a little bit of white to it, lighten it. Let me check the value, and now it's lighter. And I think I'll lighten it a little bit more by adding a little bit more white. I don't want to add too much white or I'll lose much of the red hue. So now these values, they're all pretty much the same, which strengthens their relationship. But then in order to bring them into an even more harmonious relationship with each other, the saturation needs to be reduced. When you have hues that are different and they have strong saturation like they do in this case, except for the blue, which already is more desaturated, and the orange is also a bit more desaturated. So I'm going to desaturate these colors by just bringing down the slider here a little bit like that, adding more of a grayed red, and then the orange, add some black, desaturate that orange a bit more like this. And then the blue here, I don't really need to desaturate that anymore. Now you can see that the different colors have a similar or pretty much the same saturation. And by bringing down the saturation of those colors, they now look like they harmonize even more than they did before. Because these different colors have more properties in common. And the more properties different colors have in common, the stronger the harmony that exists between those colors. I'm going to return those colors to the way they looked before I made those changes. And there they are. You see how these colors don't appear as harmonious as these here. Hopefully you can see that these feel more harmonious, like they belong together. I'm going to turn this back into a black and white, and I want you to look at the green down there. You see the green right here? That green has a value pretty much like the other values. Therefore, that property of value links up with those other colors, helping to form a more harmonious relationship. And also this color, the green, has been desaturated enough so that it appears lower in saturation, just as these other colors do. And therefore this green also now harmonizes nicely with all of these other colors. And all those colors, including the green, all contain the mother color, further helping to harmonize all of the colors. And if you understand this, then you've taken a giant leap ahead in your understanding of color And what you then need to do is just apply this to a lot of practice work. Here you see what is called the standard color wheel, and it's very important that you learn about this color wheel, know what the colors are and where they are located. That will help you greatly when you're working with color. Now, I'm showing you this color wheel because you can find a mother color in a group of colors on the color wheel. For example, these colors right here, and I'm going to go down to violet, they all contain red. Red is the mother color. So it's the same idea that I've been showing you when using a color filter. But in this case, when you're using these particular colors, you're not adding a filter. You don't have to. I could pick those colors up, for example, and add them over here like that. And I don't have to add a color filter, or I don't have to add red to all of these colors because they already all contain red, which is the mother color. I can also add orange because there is red in orange. So I'm going to pick up the orange and add that over here as well. So all of these colors form a beautiful harmony because they all contain red, which is the mother color. So here I'm just pointing out to you that if you don't use a color filter and you use colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, you're also getting the same result, which is harmonious relationships of colors, than you would when using a color filter. It's the same thing, basically. Now, these colors, they are, like I said, next to each other on the color wheel, and therefore they form a beautiful harmony. But, as I showed you with this example, when the colors were clashing with each other and weren't harmonious, I can pick different colors from the color wheel, such as, let's say, green and violet and red orange, like that, which do not form a harmonious relationship, just like this example didn't form a harmonious relationship between the colors, but now they do. So again, like I showed you in this example, I can add a mother color to these colors here, and let's say blue is the mother color that I'm going to add. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue to the green here, and it changes that green somewhat. And then I'll add some blue to the violet, like that, and some blue to the red-orange here. So now these colors all contain blue, the mother color, bringing them in a closer relationship to each other. This color, however, doesn't relate as closely to these two here as these two do. So in order to get this color, which is more of a reddish color, to relate better to these, even though it contains the blue mother color, all I need to do is to have the saturation of this color similar to the saturation of these two colors. So I could reduce the saturation, for example, of this color here, this green, by adding a little bit of that reddish color like that, and a little bit of that reddish color to this blue here. So this mutes these colors somewhat, and they have a similar saturation or intensity of color, which brings all of them into an even closer relationship to each other and creates an even more harmonious relationship of colors. Now, I want to point something else out to you about this group of colors here. They contain the principle of design called gradation, or could also be referred to as transition, because there's a gradual change that occurs here, moving from orange, which is considered the warmest color, gradually changing to cooler and cooler color as the colors move toward the violet here. So the harmony that results from gradation is what you see here. When you apply gradation to colors, you get harmonious relationships between the colors, but you also get contrast, such as the cooler colors contrasting with the warmer colors. Instead of using a more saturated mother color, you can use darker, more desaturated, more neutral mother colors, such as, for example, this darker, more neutral red that I'm going to add over here like that. And that would mean I'm going to add that dark neutral or dark brown or earth color, as it can also be referred to each of the colors within my rough sketch here, thereby enabling those colors to hang together or harmonize. And you get a certain effect when using a darker mother color, a different effect than when you use a more saturated and lighter mother color. You have to experiment to see which mother color is going to give you the mood that you're after, the effect that you're after. So, for example, I can pick up a more saturated red, which I use for the costume on the figure, but that red is too saturated, so I'm going to add a little bit of the darker, more neutral color, and I'm going to pick that up and then add it over here to the costume that this figure is wearing. And if it's a little too saturated, all I need to do is add more of that dark neutral. Get the right mixture, and then add it to the figure like this, keeping things really rough and abstract. I'm just concerned here with color relationships. I'm not concerned with a good drawing or anything like that. I'm showing you how to get your colors to harmonize. And I can do that with just a rough sketch like this, and I can do it quickly with a rough sketch. So let's say for the background or the sky, I'll select a blue that's more saturated, place that over here, and then I'll add that darker, more earth color, or this reddish dark brown color, as it can also be described as, to the blue, like that. So now I have two colors, the red and the blue, to which I added that one mother color, thereby bringing those colors into a closer relationship with each other. And I'm going to add that to the sky like this. And adding a darker mother color also darkens the color. A darker value results when you use a darker mother color. If I want a lighter color, then of course I'll use a lighter mother color. And then for the grass down here, I'll pick up a green and add that over here. And again, I'll add some of that mother color, that dark reddish brown or neutral color, to the green. And then I can add that over here like this. So a closer relationship between these colors now exists. And I'll do the same for the violet over here, where those figures are. Select violet. And again, using the darker, more neutral mother color, I'll pick that up and add it to the violet, thereby darkening the violet, reducing its saturation as well. And then I can add that over here to those figures. Really rough like that. all these colors harmonize even more because they've all been reduced in their intensity or saturation. They have a similar saturation, and therefore they harmonize more with each other than if they were more saturated. Desaturating different colors will bring those colors into a more harmonious relationship with each other, especially when you add the same mother color, as I did here with this red, to all of the colors. So you have one particular color in all of the different colors, and in addition to that, you have all of the colors desaturated, which further helps to strengthen the relationship between all the colors, creating a greater harmony of color than if those colors were not desaturated. And if you just watch this video and then you say, all right, I'm going to move on to another video, and you ignore all this and you forget about it, then you're missing out on one of the most important lessons about color. And chances are that if you don't apply this to actual practice work, you're just going to forget almost everything that you learned in this video, because you've ignored it, you haven't practiced it, and you just moved on to another video. And this is typical of many students when they're watching free videos. They'll jump from one free video to the next, and they'll just forget just about everything that they learned within those videos, because they're jumping to another subject. They haven't really learned the first subject thoroughly, because they really haven't applied what is being taught to practice work. So they'll forget almost everything or everything that they learned or saw in that video, because they've jumped to a different video of a different subject, and that'll go on, and the student will not have learned anything because they just won't remember it. You have to remember this stuff, and the only way you're really going to remember it is if you pay attention to what is being taught and not ignore it, and think about it, and then try to actually apply it over and over and over to practice work. That's the only way that it's going to get into your memory and stay there. And if you don't do that, then you're just going to forget about this, and you will have missed out on something that can really benefit you in terms of being able to produce great looking color. Now I'm going to show you something else. You might be thinking, well, what if I need more saturated color and lighter values? Well, what you can do is you keep the same hue of the mother color, which in this case is red, but you add another mother color, which is also red, but that is lighter in value and more saturated. You see me moving the little color selector here on my magic picker? So I selected a more saturated red and a lighter value. I'm adding that down here. So I have two different mother colors, but they both have the same hue. They're both red. So if I add, let's say, a violet over here that is more saturated, I can add some of that more saturated and lighter red color to that violet, like that, thereby giving me a more saturated color. Then for the blue, I'll select a more saturated blue and add that more saturated red mother color, like that. So those two colors have the red mother color in them, and could take that color and add it to the sky here, adding another color, which is a color that leans a bit more toward the violet, because red and blue when mixed make violet. And then for the red of her costume that is in the light, select a more saturated red, like that. And this is a bit more of an orange red, so I can add a little bit more of the red mother color to make that orange red a bit more red. Now I have a more saturated red for the light that I can add here. You see, something like that. You see how great that looks when you add a more saturated color next to a more desaturated color. And then for the figures back here, I can pick up this color right there, to which I added the red, which is it's violet, and I could add that on those figures in the background there. And if it's too saturated, which it is, all I need to do is add some of the more desaturated mother color over here to that color to desaturate it more, so that that color in the light isn't too strong, too intense. See, I'm working with both of these mother colors and changing their saturation. So let's see what that looks like. That's better. Something like that. You see, the color is a bit more desaturated because it's further back in space. Atmospheric color affects that color. The atmosphere mixes with that color, making it less saturated, and I could desaturate that even more. So you work with both of those mother colors. So now the most saturated color is right here on the figure in the foreground, right there. And then if I want more saturated green down here, I'll select a more saturated green from my magic picker, and I'll add that over here. And then I'll add the lighter, more saturated red to that green. So all these colors up here, they all contain red, thereby bringing them into a closer relationship with each other. So you see me adding that green down here, like that. Then I can add the other darker green and make changes here and there wherever I need to. And if the color is too saturated, all I need to do is come over here to the more desaturated mother color and start adding more of that color. And I'm adding it up here, desaturating that color a bit more, you see. Then I'm adding it to the background. Can desaturate this blue. In other words, I'm working with both of these mother colors to get the color that I want in my painting. If colors are too saturated, I desaturate it with this mother color. If I want more saturation and a lighter value, I use this mother color. But both of them, as I said, are still red. Red is still the mother color. One color is being added to all the other colors, thereby bringing all those other colors into a closer relationship with each other. So the whole painting hangs together better. Now, one thing I want to mention is that a painting must have a dominance of saturation of color. There can be different degrees of saturation of color, but one needs to dominate. Either your painting is going to have a lot more desaturated color approaching more neutral color, or it's going to be color that is more saturated, such as in my rough color sketch here. Now, I can't get into talking more about the importance of dominance Without dominance, you don't have any art. That's how important dominance is. And usually I don't hear art instructors in these free videos on the internet mentioning dominance. And dominance is so important. So let's say I want this color to be less saturated. Well, right now, the more neutral mother color that you see here is a color that has some richness to it. If I want to desaturate these colors even more, then what I need to do is select a mother color, and it's the same hue, red, that has more black in it, which neutralizes that color even more so that it doesn't have the kind of richness that it does now. And I'm going to add that color right here. You see how this looks even more neutral than this does and less rich in color. That looks less rich in color than this does. Therefore, if I use this color as my mother color to reduce the saturation of color, I'll get colors that are more desaturated, more neutral looking. So I'm just going to quickly add that color to the colors that I'm using in my painting here. And I'm going to pick up one of those colors from the painting itself. There it is. So let's say I want to neutralize that color even more. It is already a neutral. You see, if I select a more saturated blue and I place it next to that, you can see the difference, big difference. But let's say I want to neutralize that even more, then all I need to do is use this more neutral color, mother color. I'll pick that up and add it to that blue like this, and then I'm going to add it to the painting, and you can see that that looks more gray. It's reducing the saturation of the color that I had there. And I can do the same for the red. I'll pick up that red and add it over here. And again, using the mother color, the more neutralized mother color, this one right here, adding a little of that to the red, thereby desaturating that color even more, turning it even more to a neutral red, like that, you see? And I can do the same to the green, pick up that green from the painting and add that more neutral mother color to the green. Let's see what that looks like. Something like that. And all these colors that I'm adding, they have a closer relationship to each other because the colors are being reduced in their saturation, so they have a similar intensity or saturation, plus they all contain that mother color, which further helps to tie them together. And you can tie colors together even more, that is, harmonize them even more if they have the same value. So I'm going to check the value, and the values are pretty similar, almost the same, which further helps to tie them together, as I mentioned, creates an even stronger harmony between different hues. And then these colors over here, I can neutralize them even more as well. So I'll pick up that color, add a little more of the mother color, and let's see what that looks like. Even more of the mother color. See, because that mother color doesn't have the richness that this other mother color has, that is, that other mother color is a bit more saturated. And because this one isn't as saturated, I'm able to create these more neutral colors. And then I'll pick up the red violet right there and add some of that mother color. And let's see what that looks like. So this is really rough because I'm not concerned here with showing you a beautiful painting. I'm here showing you beautiful color relationships. That's what I'm after. And that's what you can get using the mother color. The mother color principle. A principle is a rule, and following this rule will help you to get beautiful color that harmonizes. So let's say you want to add a lighter value color to the background. Well, all you do is select a lighter color from the color wheel, or if you're working with actual paint, you select a lighter blue, for example, something like that, and I'll add that over here, and then all I need to do is just add a little bit of that mother color, that more desaturated mother color, like that, and maybe a little bit more of that, and let's see what that looks like. And you see it's more desaturated, lighter in value, and if I want to go even lighter, I just select an even lighter blue, which means that there's more white in that blue. I don't want to desaturate it too much with the white. When you add white to a color, it desaturates that color. And then a little bit of the neutral mother color, like that, and a little bit more of the lighter blue. You have to mix the colors until you get the right one. See, now that blue is even lighter. But because it contains the mother color, just like all the other colors contain the mother color, those different colors are brought into a closer relationship with each other, and therefore they harmonize more strongly with each other. There are different degrees of harmony. You can have colors that harmonize more or that harmonize less. If they harmonize less, then there's more contrast between the colors. If they harmonize more, the colors then look more similar. In addition, never have just one color. Like, for example, that blue in the background. If I just added a blue like that, just a flat blue, that is boring. It's uninteresting. You need to add other hues that mix in with the color. So for example, I would also add a blue violet. So that's a blue violet right there. Add a little bit of the mother color. Mix it in there with that blue violet. Let's see what that looks like. Is it too dark? Well, maybe. So I'll add a little more white. You have to learn how to mix colors using the mother color. So now I'm getting a bit more variety. I'm adding a color that is closely related to the blue. And then I could add contrasting color into the background. A complement color like orange, which is the complement to blue. So here's the orange. And then I want to desaturate it and make sure that it contains some of that mother color, which is a red color. Something like that. And that helps to create vibrancy of color and color variety and more interest when you add a contrasting color. But that color doesn't contrast as strongly with the other colors because it contains some of that mother color. See how much more interesting that background now looks because of this variety of colors? And this can go on, adding this kind of variety of color to all of the other colors within the painting. So let's say I want to change the color down here just to dull and dark, and all I need to do is come up here to my magic picker, select a green, green that's leaning a bit toward the yellow green, so I get a lighter value, and then I'll come over here, add that green there, darken it a little bit, and then I'll add this mother color, this one right here, the more saturated one, because I want that color to be a bit more saturated than it would be if I used this mother color here, or any of those two. So adding red to the green will neutralize the green somewhat, but I'll still have a lighter value. So I just have to mix the right green, and let's see what that looks like. So that gives me a lighter value, but I need to darken it a bit. Darken that green, add a little more of that red mother color. See what that looks like. Now when I'm selecting a darker green, that green is darker because there's black in that green. But if I use that green the way it is with the black in there, then I'm missing the mother color. So therefore, I need to add a little bit of that mother color, even though that green that I selected has already been reduced in saturation because of the black in there. So the mother color needs to be added. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm adding a little bit of variety. Add a little more green, like this. It takes a while to get the right color. And don't forget to add the mother color, which I'm doing now. See what that looks like. It's more green. Getting more variety in there. And of course, to get more color variety and a bit more vibrancy of color and interest, I'll add the complement to green, which is, of course, red. And red is the mother color, of course. So getting some of that in there, some of that complementary color. Always add complements together to get color variety and vibration of color and more color interest. So you need to know what the complements are, and variety of green, some a bit more saturated, some a bit less saturated, some a bit darker, some a bit lighter. You see, just you have to get that variety in there. And then some of the blue also that's in the sky can be added as well for some color balance. If I have blue at the top, I need some blue at the bottom. That's color balance. Not enough is talked about when it comes to color balance. I don't see a lot of videos on that subject. I'm not talking about color balance in terms of more saturated color opposed by less saturated color. That's balance of saturation. I'm talking about the distribution of a color throughout the painting, like the blue that I just added at the bottom, which is also a kind of balance. So let's see what you see back there, those soldiers. That's a violet, very desaturated violet color. And I could add a little bit of blue in there, and I'm picking up that blue from the sky, like that, which pushes those soldiers even further back, and then a little bit of blue also on these figures here, which no longer look like figures. But you see what I'm doing? I'm picking up colors from other parts of the painting and repeating those colors in various parts of the painting. This helps also to tie the different colors together even more, tie the various parts of the painting together even more. So I'm adding a little bit of the blue within her red costume. And let's see, another green, darker, bit cooler. There's more blue in that green, it cools it. And then some of that mother color is added. Let's see what that looks like. So there's a cast shadow here. And there's some blue in that cast shadow from the sky color. Now this is very rough, of course, and I can go on and on. But if you want to learn more, then check out my complete illustration art course that will teach you all about what I'm just briefly touching upon here. And let me just clean up the edges a bit, like that. So here we are back again to the original colors that I started out with, and I'm going to show you one more thing that you can do to harmonize the colors, again using a mother color, but it's done differently. It's like what artists do when they use actual paint and they want to harmonize their colors. They will put a glaze over the entire painting of a particular color that will then bring all those colors that don't relate to each other very well into a more harmonious relationship, just like I've been showing you in this video. So when using the computer, you can get a similar result like when you glaze a painting by doing what I'm going to be showing you. So first of all, I'm going to bring over the layers palette. So what I'm going to do now is make a selection right here where the art is. Place a selection rectangle over the whole thing here. Then I'm going to come over here to adjustment layers, down to hue saturation. So I'm adding a hue saturation adjustment layer. And you can see right over here there's this white shape. That's where I'm going to be painting into. I'm going to be painting in the mother color. So what you do now is you come over here where it says Colorize, click on Colorize, and immediately you can see a color appear in my painting over here. Then where the hue slider is, you can move that to select a color, which becomes the mother color, because that one color is going to appear in all of the other colors within the painting. So maybe something like this blue violet or violet, something like that, a blue-violet color, will become my mother color. Now what I have to do is I have to add black to that white rectangle that you see here. So I'm going to come down here, change that to black, where the color picker is, you see, change that to black. And now I'm going to add black to that white rectangle. And you can see the color has disappeared in my painting. But I can paint it back with white. So I have to select white in my color picker here. You see, I selected white. Now I can paint that color into my color sketch, and you see it appearing there. And with my pen, I can vary the pressure, and I can get a more opaque color or a more transparent color, depending on how much pressure I put on my pen. And I can paint that color, that mother color, that blue violet, into the red costume that she has on, also down here into the green area, and where these two figures are fighting, painting that in there, and then the figures in the background there also are receiving that blue violet color, placing that blue violet over all of the painting, thereby bringing all those different colors into a closer relationship with each other because of that mother color that appears in all of the colors. You see how the colors look more harmonious now? They look more like they belong together, like they go together, like they are hanging together. So this is another way to get the mother color into your paintings when using Photoshop. I'm going to switch back to the original colors so that you can compare them with this new version. And here is what it looked like before. And the colors do not harmonize like they do in this version. Can you see how more aesthetically pleasing the relationship of these colors appear than these colors? Hopefully you can see the difference. If you can't, then you haven't really reached that level of sensitivity of color yet that is needed in order to be able to harmonize colors, so that when you do harmonize them, you can see that they are in a closer relationship and they harmonize. So I'm going to switch it back, and here's the version that has greater harmony of color. So hopefully you can see the difference. This is not as appealing because the colors don't harmonize the way they do in this version. Now that's about all I'm going to be talking about on this subject, and I covered it quite extensively, but there's always more to learn. And there's a lot more to learn about color that you're going to need to know if you really want to master this important subject of painting. One of the things that you have to keep in mind is, in order to get good color, you have to have good value relationships. If you don't know how to work with values, then your color isn't going to be any good, no matter what kind of mother color you apply or any other techniques that you might be using. You have to have good value relationships. Good value relationships equal good color. And when you have really good or great value relationships, then you can use pretty much any kind of combination of colors, and they're going to look good. So now it's time to end this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel and tell all your friends about my videos. And if you are a serious student of art and you want to go beyond just watching free videos, and you really want to get into these subjects in greater depth so that you gain the kind of knowledge you need to become a really great artist, then you might want to check out my complete illustration art course at my online art school called Online Art Academy. Thanks for watching, and so long until next time.